All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Okay, cool. So today we're diving into a film that's, well, it's pretty thought-provoking to say the least. It's called Another End.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this one. It's about,
It's about a man who uses technology to reconnect with his wife after she passes away. It really got me thinking,
yeah.
like what would I do in that situation?
Yeah, heavy stuff. Definitely makes you consider the whole grief thing and how far we'd go, to hold on. And with technology advancing so rapidly, it's like, is this where we're headed?
Exactly. It's like science fiction, but it could be our reality soon enough. So, before we get too deep into all that, maybe let's give our listeners a quick rundown of the film.
That's good.
Okay, so Another End centers on this guy named Sal. He's just completely devastated after losing his wife, Zoe.
And it's set in, what was it, Paris and Rome?
You got it, Paris and Rome. So, beautiful romantic cities, but with this underlying sense of melancholy. Adds to the whole atmosphere,
Totally. Sets the mood.
Right. Anyway, the story revolves around this service. It's actually called Another End, ironically. And it allows people to communicate with simulated versions of, well, people they've lost, loved ones.
Right, and they use these, what are they called? Hosts, I think.
Hosts, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're intermediaries. They facilitate the communication between the living person and the simulated consciousness.
It's wild. The film doesn't get bogged down in the technical details, though. It's more about the emotional impact, which I appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of emotional impact, I have to say the performances in this film are just, wow. Gael García Bernal as Sal, he just nails that raw grief. Like you really feel his pain.
Oh, yeah. Bernal is fantastic. He carries so much of the film's emotional weight. But I also got to mention Renate Reinsve.
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, she plays both Zoe and the host, Ava.
Talk about blurring the lines.
Seriously, like, is it Zoe? Is it Ava? Is it some weird combination of both? It makes you think about what makes us,
Absolutely. And what happens to that us after we're gone? Can it really be captured and recreated digitally?
Right. It's kind of a mind-bending concept. So I'm curious, what did you think about the film's overall message? Did you feel like it took a stance on whether this technology is good or bad?
I think it intentionally avoids that. It's more about presenting the ethical dilemmas, making us really wrestle with those questions.
Totally. It's like, is it right to try to resurrect someone digitally? What are the implications for how we understand deaths and grieve? I mean, there are no easy answers.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes it so powerful. It stays with you, long after the credits roll, you're left pondering these big questions.
It's definitely not your typical popcorn flick. It's a slow burn for sure.
But so worth it.
Agreed. It makes you think about your own relationships, how you'd cope with loss, and where technology might be taking us.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing. The film really sparked a lot of conversation, even though it didn't have huge box office success.
It touched a nerve, for sure.
People are clearly fascinated and maybe a bit scared by this idea. I mean, it blurs the lines between life and death, between reality and simulation.
Big time.
So where does that leave us? What happens to our concept of the self, of identity, in a world where technology can essentially grant a form of digital immortality? It's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, it's both fascinating and unsettling. Like you said, it raises so many questions. I mean, if you had the opportunity to reconnect with someone you lost, what ethical lines would you draw?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, no easy answers. I think that's what the film ultimately wants us to grapple with. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely. As technology advances, these questions are only going to become more pressing.
Totally. So, for anyone listening, if you're looking for a film that'll really make you think, a film that explores grief, memory, and our relationship with technology in a profound way, I highly recommend checking out Another End.
Yeah, it's definitely a film that'll stay with you.
For sure. And who knows, it might even change the way you think about life, death, and everything in between.
And maybe spark some interesting conversations with friends and family, too.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's another Deep Dives complete. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those conversations going.
Yeah.
See ya.